Hey everyone, Amanda here. Today we're talking about triggers and triggered reactions, but I really want to differentiate a bit of a difference between something that triggers you and something that activates you, or something that evokes big emotions in you. I think quite often in today's languaging, we have kind of watered down what a trigger truly is. When I think of a trigger, I think of a event, a person, an experience, an image, a scent, something that triggers a traumatic memory. And that's very different than being met with discomfort or being met with adversity or challenge and feeling activated and feeling big emotions happening in your body. Like, if I have certain conversations about certain topics, hell yeah, I get activated. But I'm not triggered to the sense that it's reminding me of a traumatic memory. So I think first and foremost, it is really important to acknowledge that, because to diminish what a trigger is to kind of water down or minimize somebody's experience who is truly triggered. And if you've ever been triggered by something and have had a traumatic flashback, it is deeply disturbing. It's you're reliving that moment right then and there as if you were right back in it. Whereas an activation is something very different. We're feeling internal friction. We're feeling maybe a bit overwhelmed or big emotions that we're having a hard time navigating. And that's totally fair. But I just want to kind of offer that and see if that resonates or that lands. And we can start to kind of renegotiate our language around it so that we're paying a bit more service to what these things truly are and understanding them within ourselves. So when we think of navigating triggers and activators or navigating big emotions, it's really about befriending them or maybe even just noticing them to start. So let's talk about the moments when you're feeling activated. So you might be in a really uncomfortable conversation with somebody. You might be looking at anything on social media these days, and you can feel that physiological response and the stress response start to turn on in your body. For me, I can kind of feel my heart rate start to change. I can get kind of sweaty palms and my shoulders can tense up, and I start to think in a different way or react in a different way. And I think that's really the key, is noticing the moments that your physiology changes, your internal landscape changes due to what you're met with. What I mean by this is, how can you start to notice these things and witness them rather than reacting to them? And I think that's one of the biggest things that occurs is the reaction to them, the reaction to the activator, and taking it on more of a personal level rather than seeing it for what it is. Because at the end of the day, the world is complex. It can be very messy. It can be very hurtful and devastating, while simultaneously being joyful, blissful, extremely beautiful, and everything in between. And that is what the human experience is about. It is about navigating that. It's not about asking the whole world to bubble wrap and become non-triggering, because at the end of the day, we have systems of oppression. We have systemic racism. We have misogyny. We have literally everything at play in our world. And yes, I absolutely wish and pray that none of those things existed. And I am actively working and doing my best to change it in whatever way I can. But it would be naive to think that right here in this split second, we can change that and we can ask other people to change. Really, truly, what this comes down to is, how do I hold myself? How do I build tolerance for discomfort so that I can meet these activators and not let them shake me? So that I can meet these activators and still drive for change. Because at the end of the day, if we're trying to change systems of oppression and we're trying to change systemic racism, sexism, ableism, ageism, everything in between, but we're doing it from an emotionally reactive space, we're not making sustainable changes in that arena. Because when fear is met with fear, or hate is met with hate, and shame is met with shame, we're not growing, we're not moving forward, we're not making the tangible, sustainable changes that we need in our world today. So I'm not asking you to settle, and I'm not asking you to say, oh, this is just the way it is. What I'm offering here is a possibility, a maybe, a what would it feel like if you did that work from the inside to reclaim your resilience, to reclaim your sense of tolerance for discomfort, build that window of tolerance, being able to handle stressful situations, bouncing back a little bit quicker so that we can continue to show up in this fight, so that we can continue to show up in this work. We can continue to show up and push for these changes. Because if anyone hears me and knows, it's deeply disturbing to be activated and to be triggered constantly. It's overwhelming, it's exhausting, it's debilitating. And to take power back means to be able to have uncomfortable, courageous, and vulnerable conversations. It means being able to sit in the same room and have a conversation with somebody that you disagree with or that you don't see eye to eye with, and instead of just shutting that down and going the other direction, it means that we can see each other for who we are and say, help me understand, and let me help you understand where I'm coming from so that we can move forward together. Rather than this whole building our echo chambers and trying to make ourselves as comfortable as possible all of the time, I don't know if that serves us. And you might completely disagree with me, and that's totally fine. Please do. And hear where I'm coming from, and let's have a conversation about it. Because I know for myself, when I look at certain aspects of our world today, hot damn, I am triggered left, right, and center in such deeply disturbing ways. I'm activated on the daily with things that I see in the world. But if I sat here and didn't take responsibility for my own emotions in it, then I can't continue to show up and try and have constructive conversations and actually push to make an impact and to help people see the other side of the coin or take on a different perspective. So how do we do this? How do we build our tolerance for discomfort or adversity or challenge, activators? What does that actually look like? I think what it comes down to is really being able to build an intimate conversation and relationship with ourselves. How is it that I can hold those big, overwhelming, uncomfortable emotions in my body and let them take their time that they need to teach me something, to digest them and metabolize them, so that I'm coming from a place of grounded reason and wisdom rather than emotional reactivity. When we become activated, when something activates a part of us and we instantaneously jump to action, a lot of the time we're actually coming offline of our thinking mind. We're dropping back into the limbic system and into that survival instinct. What needs to happen in those moments more often than not is ground back in, come back into your prefrontal cortex so that you can actually think and rationalize your way through what it is that you're going to do or say next. There's a time and a place for reaction, 1,000%. We react to things for a reason. It's for our survival, and that absolutely has a part to play. What I'm talking about is the moments where we are met with a challenging experience, or we're met with a challenging person, and they make us really angry, and they say something, or they make us really upset by doing something, and we react right then and there. That's the part that we're trying to shift. That's the part that we're trying to build a little bit more of a window, a little bit more space between the activation and the response. Coming out of that space of reacting from emotion and responding from a place of maybe listening to understand, asking different questions. I hear that you're saying this. Is this what you mean? Repeat it back. Get clarification. Because maybe you heard it differently or felt it in your body differently than what that person meant. And I think within this, some of the tools that I've really been working with are calling to mind times where I maybe didn't handle it as maybe politely or as eloquently, as gracefully as I wish I had of. And if I can call those moments to mind now, not in the moment, because that's different. That is something we have to practice towards. But if I can call these moments up from the past and think, okay, I had an argument with so-and-so, and here's how I showed up. And then I think my way through it by reminding myself of how that situation played out. My brain doesn't realize that I'm not in that moment anymore. So it actually courses those same hormones through my body. I have the same physiological response that I did in that moment. And I can navigate that in a safe place because I'm not in that moment anymore. It's safe for me to play that out. So I'll kind of sit there and think my way through it and really call up those emotions. How did I feel? Why did what they said activate me? Why did it get to me so much? And can I hold that emotion in my body? Can I hold that feeling, that sensation, and know that in 90 seconds, it's going to dissolve and dissipate? Because that's literally it. 90 seconds for that hormonal cocktail of sensation to dissolve and dissipate from our bodies. So if I can hold that for 90 seconds and tell myself, okay, you're okay. Yes, this is deeply uncomfortable, but you're okay. How could I have handled that differently? What words do I wish I had said? How do I wish I had shown up? And I kind of replay it out so that next time that comes up, my brain is like, oh, wait, we've done this before. We can pause. We can trust that. We can hold this sensation in our body. We have to take a few deep rounds of breath to come back onto prefrontal cortex, come back into that thinking mind, and then we'll navigate it from there. And this is a practice, y'all. This does not come overnight. I'm still in the work of it. I don't know anyone who's mastered this and actually can do it every single time. Maybe the Dalai Lama, because the Dalai Lama. But I'm definitely not there. So I'm in this work with you. I'm right alongside you, trying to navigate hard conversations, trying to hold myself in discomfort, trying to hold hope in all of these different situations that we have coming to light these days. It's hard and so worth it, because if I can hold myself in discomfort, I can get out the other side and really enjoy my moments of beauty and bliss and happiness and joy and everything in between. The other aspect of this is to really consider and contemplate how it is that you then move those emotions out of your body after. So if I've remembered this time that made me feel uncomfortable and I'm having those emotions and sensations in my body, I also have to move them out of my body. So this might be literally shaking it off, like actually shaking your body and getting it out, and let your body shake in whatever way it needs. So you might turn on a song, your favorite song, or like Taylor Swift, Shake It Off if you want. Whatever is your jam, do that. Move your body, literally get it out. This signals to your nervous system that it's safe enough to be in parasympathetic. It's safe enough to drop back into rest, digest, heal, and repair. So if you can do these things that signal that to your body, it reminds your nervous system, it reminds your mind and body that you can hold uncomfortable sensations within. You can do difficult things. So if we look at it in that sense, laughter with friends is a great way, like deep belly laughter. Having that like full body sigh where like, okay, did it. That was a thing, and now here I am. My fave still is the shake it off. Doing a little dance, but like literally like you have to actually shake and get it out. If you've ever seen an animal in the wild, Peter Levine's talks really, really powerfully to this, but if you've ever seen an animal in a wild situation where, say, a gazelle being chased by a lion, if the lion catches up and bites the gazelle drops and plays dead. It freezes. It goes into that immobility. Ventral vagus comes on, goes into that immobility, and then the lion's like, I won, and it prances off to go get its little cubs to then come back. The moment that the lion leaves, if you watch the gazelle, it starts to shiver and tremble. It literally starts to shake. And it's shaking off that parasympathetic immobilization and jumping back into sympathetic to activate, to get ready to go, and then it bolts. It's gone. Shook it off, activated sympathetic to get out of the situation. That's what we as humans need to get a whole lot better at. We need to move these things out of our body. If we stew and ruminate and dwell in the discomfort and dwell in the negativity and dwell in the negative emotions, thoughts, all of that, that is the hormonal cocktail that we're saturating our body with. That doesn't sound pleasant. That doesn't sound sustainable. So if we have that moment of activation or big emotion, get it out. Exercise, shaking it off, dancing it off, laughing it off. If you've ever had a really uncomfortable situation, and so say you almost got in a car accident, or say you did get into a minor car accident, nobody was injured, all was well, and then you kind of had that like awkward laugh after, where you're like, whoa, what just happened? That's a parasympathetic response. That's that moment of, whoa, that was too close for comfort, and now I've recognized safety, so I can drop back into renegotiating and balancing my nervous system. So the body is already naturally doing all of these things. It's really about building that communication and that conversation with your body, that relationship, so you can acknowledge it and say, oh yeah, I'm noticing that I really need to move through this. I've held it for long enough, and now it's time to get rid of it, get it out. So a lot of concepts here, a lot to think about, but I really wanted to bring this forward because the nature of what I'm seeing today, social media, conversations with people, we're really struggling to actually have juicy, constructive, empathetic, vulnerable, raw, real conversations with people we disagree with. Right there with you, absolutely. It's hard. And we're also in a place where, and I'll only speak to what I know, I'm not generalizing to the whole world, I'm generalizing to those that I've seen go through this or talked about this with, we're really struggling to allow ourselves to be healthily activated It's okay to get stressed out. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It's okay to have these moments that feel too big to handle. You can do this. You can get out the other side. And I think if we start to build these tools and talk about these tools more than talking about the negativity, but really talking about these tools that we can use, then we're more likely to be able to step into that discomfort or step into those awkward, overwhelming situations. Because as much as I would love to like have a fairy godmother wand and just make everything better and make things not as stimulating and difficult and triggering and activating as they are these days, the fact of the matter is we have to build back our sense of resilience. We have to grow together so that we can build towards a better future. If we're walking around in these spaces right now feeling like we can't handle what's going on within, then we definitely can't handle what's going on without us, outside of us, within, without. So that's my offering today. I know this was a little bit longer winded than I had anticipated, but I think this is a really important topic and something that is coming up more and more. Every time I run a training, every time I run a workshop, this is the thing that comes up. People are like, how the heck do I show up in uncomfortable situations? How do I have uncomfortable conversations? You do. You keep showing up because you've got this. As difficult as it is in the moment, we can do this. We can grow these tools. We can get to the point where we understand how to move it out of our bodies after. And we'll just keep talking about it because I am here for all of this. So thank you for listening, and I hope you have a restful day ahead and move whatever it is that you need to move out of your body so that you can hold space for whatever is to come. Thank you, thank you, thank you.